The year is 2010. An anon would make a post on the B-board of 4chan with an interesting discovery. For this particular video, I'll refer to this anon as John. A year prior, John and his friend would spend their day drinking. It's nothing odd for them and would almost be known as ordinary. They were both known to be quite adventurous, so when the topic of the abandoned house down the street came to them, they knew they had to go. This house had been secluded for years at this point, and no one had really seen anyone enter or leave. It's been vacant for as long as anyone can remember. The two entered the house through the partially collapsing garage, hurriedly made their way into the basement, and were amazed by the various old tools and hardware just laying around, signs of life that had seemingly vanished. What truly caught their eye was a room at the back of the basement with a large train track set up. They later returned to the house, and since their strength in numbers, the pair would bring a camera and two other friends, Kim and Justin. They first showed them the basement and, after a while, went up to the kitchen, where they found things just laying around left haphazardly. They took some time just messing around in the kitchen. They would notice a certain smell lingering in the air. It wasn't good, but it wasn't something they couldn't handle. There was a door that separated the kitchen from the living room. Deciding to enter, John was the first to open it. Through the narrow opening of the door, he caught a glimpse of a person sitting in a chair facing the other direction. At that moment, they knew they were trespassing and hurriedly made their way out without a second thought. After some thinking, they chose to return, this time more quiet. One of them would gently open the door of the living room, but instantly slammed it shut in horror, only mustering up a single phrase. "That's a dead body." His tone made it clear that he wasn't messing around. This was serious. They entered the living room and took a good look at what he was talking about. They found the corpse of a man who had been dead for quite some time. His skin darkened from rot, and it looked like he had soiled himself. He was sitting in a chair, his back turned towards the rest of the house. It seemed he'd passed away the previous year, preserved by the winter air before his body could break down into skeletonization. The pungent stench of death was unbearably lingering in the air. The four were having to cover their noses with their shirts. No one said a word. They were all stunned, silently attempting to process the fact that they were standing just feet away from a decaying body. What's interesting about this case is the journal next to the body. In it, the man had carefully recorded details of his daily life: what he ate, the temperature each day, and how much money he earned selling cans, with his last entry simply stating, "Sick as heck, can't eat." The group would report their findings to the police. When they arrived, they had a hard time prying him from the chair, as he was almost glued to the couch. According to the cops, the man was a recluse, and his family would come in every so often, making sure he was okay. He wanted nothing to do with them, and so they eventually stopped visiting him. It was obvious he wanted to be left alone. He likely despised human contact to such an extent that even as he began to feel sick, he chose not to reach out for help, enduring a week of suffering in isolation, before death finally came to him. It's Sunday night. A user that is now deleted had just uncovered a series of Google reviews, all identically terrifying, eerie, and disturbing. Hi all. A friend and I were around in Google Maps and decided to check Google Maps pictures for Hooters in Miami. We found this creepy profile who only posts pictures with half a face of a woman, sometimes just a third, real or 3D model. 99% of them are photoshopped in. Anyone encountered this before? Name of the profile posting them is Ricky Calderon. With the post is a photo of Ricky Calderon's Google Reviews account, all revealing a similar undertone. They all incorporate images of women edited in a way in which their faces are partially shown. They all exhibit an artificial look that glides between the boundaries of the uncanny valley. It goes without saying that we have seen this type of content before. People trying to make something intentionally creepy in hopes of generating online attention and viral clicks. But for years, Ricky has been uploading hundreds of photos with none connected to anything else. So is that what we are dealing with here? This leaves us with a few questions. Who is this Ricky Cauldron? And why are they doing this? When we take a closer look at Ricky's account, we see that not only are these images drastically different from one another, with some being a composite of real women and others completely taken from video games. It seems that the older the post, the more real these images get. Almost like he started off with taking real photos, then later opted out to creating fake ones instead. This still leaves us with the question, why are they doing this? One of the leading theories reads the following. My completely unsubstantiated theory is that it's some sort of AI training itself to convincingly insert fake people in front of real backgrounds so as to gain traction on sites like Instagram to spread ads. I think all those Reddit bots do something similar. The only thing I can't explain is why they only insert half a face, or why they're actually posting it. This would make a ton of sense, except for the fact that these two photos would exist in the gallery. These two are the only images where we see Ricky capture his own hands. Both of them seem to come from the same person, having similar skin tone, thumb shape, and nail length. Ricky is a real person. He's been present within all these images. This was a man who had some sort of goal. A simple Google search of his name would lead you to a Flickr account from 2017, way before the creation of his Google Maps account. Unlike his reviews, these images would contain full snapshots of the women who are seemingly consenting, probably unaware of the true purpose of them was. He then goes off the internet for what seemed like a few years, his hiatus lasting between 2020 to 2022, seemingly due to the pandemic at the time. His obsession would only evolve when he returned, this time with a specific look that grew weirder over time. It's hard to say what his true intentions are. Now, whether this is some sort of strange fetish, something sinister at play, or anything in between, it leaves us with one question. Who is Ricky Calderon?
XHGC Canal 5, al servicio de la comunidad.
Sorry to do this again, but before we begin this next part of the video, I'd like to state that this next entry may contain topics that can be disturbing to some. The following is something that I've wanted to get back to for a while, and if you haven't watched my older videos on Selena Delgado, I would highly recommend you to watch it after this video. With that being said, this section may contain heavily disturbing imagery and follow sensitive topics. So, if that type of thing bothers you, viewer discretion is heavily advised. The Internet, an endlessly growing deposit of human culture and conversation, a place where we spend nearly every hour of our lives. As it grew, it evolved into a powerful platform for self-expression and humor, paving the way for the birth of a curious and now widespread phenomenon known as the meme. Mr. Incredible becomes uncanny, one of the most popular meme formats in 2022, showing the slow deteriorating version of Mr. Incredible as he goes into different phases of obscurity. This was derived from the previously popular meme, Those Who Know versus Those Who Don't Know, showing a normal Mr. Incredible versus a disturbed version due to knowing or realizing something terrible. The reason I bring this up today is because of the fourth phase of the transformation, where we see this phase superimposed into Mr. Incredible. Where did this phase come from? Those who recognize it would point to the popular analog horror known as the Mandela Catalog. Alongside this phase has become synonymous with Gmod and nextbots. Nextbots are NPCs that follow the player around the map. They usually contain just a simple PNG image of other memes. However, if you go to the Steam page of this nextbot, we encounter a familiar name, Selena Delgado, who on her own is linked to an entire internet rabbit hole. The story of Selena Delgado is one of the strangest I know, and there are troves of media about her that I've explored before. However, we won't be diving into her full story tonight, as her connection to this phase is only surface level. The real story behind this image is actually much darker. On the evening of July 9, 2002, in a Baton Rouge area, a woman by the name of Diane Alexander received a knock at her door. As she went to open it, to check who it was, she was suddenly attacked and severely beaten by an intruder. The only thing that saved her life was her son arriving home at just the right moment, scaring off the attacker off through the back of the house. Though Diane was left brutally battered, she survived. Later, Diane would describe what the intruder looked like to the Zachary Police Department sketch artist, and what he drew was this image. What Diane didn't know was that she was the sole survivor of an attempted murder from who would later be known as the Baton Rouge serial killer Derek Todd Lee, who murdered 7 women in the Baton Rouge area between the years 1992 and 2003. The 7 victims confirmed through DNA to be linked to Derek Todd Lee were Randy Mebroer, Gina Wilson Green, Geraldine De Soto, Charlotte Murray Pace, Pamela Kinamore, Trenacia Den Colomb, and Carrie Yoder. A sketch based on Diane Alexander's description, alongside with DNA evidence, eventually led to Lee's identification, ironically after a peeping Tom incident. Despite prior arrests for stalking, he had been overlooked by the police. This simple, uncanny sketch used in memes and cheap jump scares hold a dark and unsettling secret. The fact that most people use this face, unknowing of the story behind it, cements it as one of the most disturbing side of the internet. A mysterious sign from a lady on the window, a scam preying on unsuspecting victims, an archive of disturbing media, a 4channer's disturbing find, a Google Maps account that creeps on women, and a dark backstory behind a meme we all know. Tonight, you and I dove into 6 of the most disturbing sides of the internet I could find. Sorry for the wait, but I'm glad we're finally able to finish Volume 2 of this saga. It's safe to say we'll be stepping away from this series for a while. With that being said, get ready for longer and more common uploads from now on. If you guys have any submissions, any disturbing channels, footage, audio, or anything, shoot me an email on joltsvideosuggestions@gmail.com. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Good night.